Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. So in one of my recent videos I made a small handheld games console that was inspired by the popular game Flappy Birds. The game had all the little features that you'd want for it to be completely portable and completely usable. It was chargeable, there was a switch to help you save the battery, and there was just a single button to help you play the game, and honestly it worked pretty well. The best part is I was able to make it using really easily sourced components from Amazon. It included a Wemos D1 microcontroller, a small OLED screen, a LiPo battery and charging module, and of course a tactile switch. And although I'm really happy with the way it turned out, I have to admit I've fallen down the rabbit hole a little bit, and I wanted to see if I can go a little bit further with this sort of project. So with that in mind, in the first part of this little video series I'm going to show you how I made this. This is a remake of the classic Nokia game Snake, and although this is just a breadboard prototype, it's fully playable and it works quite well. And then in an upcoming video we'll see what we can do to take this from a breadboard prototype to a fully fledged handheld games console. So let's start by going through the components that I'll be using for this project. Let's start off with the microcontroller. So the last Flappy Birds game was made using a Wemos D1 microcontroller. As I said in that video, it's one of my favorite microcontrollers. It's got Wi-Fi capabilities, it's really small. But this time I wanted to use something a little bit different, something that was a bit better supported for a slightly larger scale project. So for this project I'm going to be switching to an Arduino Micro. Again, it's a really small microcontroller, which means I can keep the form factor for the project quite small. And it's really well supported, which means it will just make making this project a little bit easier. But I think the biggest improvement between this project and the last one is in the display. So in the Flappy Birds game I used a 1-inch OLED screen, and although this is quite easy to use, it's only got 4 pins, obviously it's quite small. So this time I opted to use this. This is a 2-inch TFT OLED display which has a much nicer size and display quality. It also shows different colours, and really the only trade-off is that there's a few more pins that you need to navigate. But for what it brings to the table, I think that's a price worth paying. Those are the main upgrades, and in terms of other components, it's just a couple of tactile buttons and some wires. Now that we had the overall idea in mind and the components in hand, it was time to start developing the software that was going to make this game run. And for a little helping hand, I decided to use ChatGPT for the project. I told it what I had in mind and let it get to work. As with any AI assisted code, it takes a little bit of back and forth, trial and error, but eventually I was able to get a sketch that I was happy with. And then it was time to put everything to the test by getting the components on a breadboard and the sketch uploaded onto the Arduino. And we've got a fully working game, guys. The game works really well. It's nice and responsive, and all the little features and functions that I've included to make it a more complete experience all work really well. For example, it's a small detail but I feel like it matters quite a lot. The way the snake leaves on one side of the screen and comes through on the opposite side, it makes it a really nice fluid gaming experience. And then of course, other features like how the player loses if the snake gets long enough and hits itself. And for those of you who are quite competitive, once you lose it even tells you what your score is. So all in all, this has turned out really great, but we're not quite there just yet. As I said at the beginning, in the next video we'll be seeing what we can do to take this from a breadboard prototype to a full-on handheld console that you can take anywhere. If that's something you might be interested in, please don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss that video when it drops. In the meanwhile, I'll leave some links to similar projects I've made in the past for you guys to go check out, and I'll see you all in the next video.